Watch me go from this hideous creature to this hideous creature. So this is just me being goofy, putting the prosthetic up to my face. We're going to get right into it. I am putting the Prozaid, which is professional grade adhesive, on my face. I am starting on the inner areas of where the prosthetic will be. Just putting it around the areas that I know the prosthetic is going to hit. And I did forget to include the fact that I am using a prosthetic from Boneyard FX, actually FX Faces. Boneyard FX is a part of FX Faces. No, FX Faces is a part of Boneyard FX, I meant. They are the same people. It's a husband and wife team. They're amazing. And now I'm putting the Prozaid on the prosthetic itself. I did not have my tripod, so you can barely see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to line this up on my face. So since this is a half prosthetic, it's not a full face prosthetic, I am starting in the middle of my face on my nose. It really depends on your prosthetics. Most of the time you are going to want to start in this area because that is an area that lifts up. I do stretch this prosthetic to get it to stick, to keep it pretty flat on my face. As you can see on the edges, I did not trim the edges very well, but for these purposes, this was for a photo shoot, a video photo shoot. My hair covers most of that, so you can't really tell. So whenever you do a prosthetic, always check where the hair is covering, and sometimes you don't really have to worry about those edges. And again, about this prosthetic, it is a foam latex prosthetic. And foam latex is pretty easy to use. Some people prefer silicone prosthetics, which are easier to blend. The only thing is that they are pretty expensive and not as easily available. This prosthetic you can get on fxfaces.com. I don't remember the exact one, but it is a zombie prosthetic, and they do have quite a bit of prosthetics on their website. So here I'm just kind of tapping around, making sure it is sticking, and it is pretty secure. Now I'm going around the edges of the prosthetic and making sure those go down. And again, I'm stretching the prosthetic to help it stick easier. That also helps prevent any bubbling, and it helps make your edges easier to blend. Fun fact, if you want to prevent your hair from getting stuck in the Prozaid with the prosthetic, put Vaseline there and it will not stick. If it does get stuck, I highly recommend using a very thick conditioner, almost like a mask, to help get that Prozaid out of there. So now what I'm doing is I'm going around the edges close to my nose and my smile lines. This area does come up quite a bit if you're moving. I work at a like a haunted house type thing, and we do use prosthetics, and this area does come up with people sweating. It's also another area where you could definitely see prosthetic lines if you're using this for film or photos. The haunt I work at, we don't care about blending the lines because it is used for the nighttime and it's dark and you can't really see it that well. But the better you get those edges, and you can see me pulling them down and stretching them out to thin them out. By doing that, it helps prevent seeing prosthetic lines. Have you ever seen people do mascara and they make a weird look on their face? I definitely have that look right now. So now I'm going in with a Q-tip with Prosade on it. And a lot of times when you do the Q-tip, you want to do dabbing and then kind of like swirl methods. I think I'm just dabbing right there to make sure that everything's popped in. And there's my mascara face again, you know. But now we can call it my prosthetic face. And you saw how that just lifted up? That always kind of sucks when that happens because sometimes it'll stick to your gloves. Um, and luckily with this one, I didn't have an issue, but sometimes it'll ball up the edges because the edges are so thin. But now I'm going through with more Prosade, and I am now doing the more of a swirl method to get the Prosade in the corners to try to start blending the corners. I meant edges. Yeah. I mean, I guess there are some corners there. I'm just really getting into that smile line area because when you move your face, that area really wants to move, and I really want it to get stuck and be able to blend it easily. So now I'm using powder to powder the Prosade, and what that does is it thickens the Prosade, and it's a really easy way to blend. I am actually using cornstarch because that's all I had. You can use any type of makeup powder, like loose powder, like the Mayron powder or the Ben Nye. Actually, the Ben Nye comes in bigger tubes, I think, or bigger bottles. So that one's good, and I do use that one quite frequently, and that's what I use in my professional kit. But since this is for myself, I'm just using cornstarch, and it's, as you can see, it's starting to seal already around the nose and smile line area. And now I'm going in with more Prosade because you're going to do a few layers of this. It really depends on how thin your edges are on your prosthetic. So I'm going to do some more Prosade to really blend those edges in. Again, I am so sorry about the camera angle. My boyfriend actually took my tripod for the day and I didn't have it. And I was just kind of balancing my phone off of the window ledge that's in my bathroom. So there are some horrible angles. There's some angles that you can't see, and I'm so sorry about that. But I am adding more Prozaid around where I just powdered. These videos will probably get a little bit better. Maybe I'll do another prosthetic video to show how I do my prosthetics. Maybe I'll also show a prosthetic video on how I do haunt prosthetics. Because some haunts do have you seal the edges. I have worked for a haunt before. Bony Art Effects actually did a haunt, and we were sealing edges. We made everything look gorgeous. But the other haunt I work at, we don't quite seal the edges, and I know there's other haunts that are professional theme park style haunts that don't completely seal their edges as well. For privacy purposes, I'm not going to say what haunt I work at. Also, I might get sued if I say what haunt I work at. I'm also not going to talk about in this channel any haunts that are currently present unless I'm doing a video specifically on that haunt. But I'm not going to give any tips or secrets about any haunts that are going on right now. There was a haunt I did work at that is no longer around, so I might pop in some things about there, but they did not use prosthetics at their haunt. So now I'm going in again with the cornstarch, and you can use any type of makeup powder or like loose makeup powder. Like again, I said, like the Maron or the Ben Nye, those powders are really good for this. I'm just personally using cornstarch for myself. But what this is doing, it's thickening up the Prozaid so that it's kind of making another layer that is bonding to the prosthetic, so it's smoothing out that prosthetic. So it's making it so you're not seeing the lines of the prosthetic. And again, I am so sorry about these camera angles. This is my first time doing a prosthetic filming it. Everyone keeps telling me, do videos, do videos, do videos. And today I was like, or this day I was like, oh my gosh, I need to film this. And then I find out that my boyfriend took my tripod. He recently got into photography, and he works in the military, so he had a 24-hour shift, and he wanted to bring his camera with him and take photos around the base, which involved him taking my tripod, because I've got the nice big tripod. And don't be afraid to use too much powder. There's no such thing as too much powder in these types of looks, because we are going to be airbrushing over it, and the airbrush just goes directly over the powder. The only time I would say you're using too much powder is if you have a bubble and you try to put powder over the bubble. It's going to make goop on the edges. So now I've gone into starting to paint my prosthetic. And I'm using an Iwata Revolution airbrush, also an Iwata Silverjet compressor. The paint I am using, all the paint I will be using, and the paint I'm using here is by European Body Art. It's their Endura line. And I think this color's called Corpse. I'm not 100% sure. When it comes to my airbrush paint, I put it in other bottles. My old bottles have lost the names on them. I mix colors, just a lot of stuff that you learn as you're going. If you look in my kit right now, none of my bottles have names for the most part. So when I'm airbrushing myself, there is like no technique to it. When I airbrush other people, I'm doing circular motions, big circular motions everywhere, but when I airbrush myself, I get pretty close to my face. I don't know what I did there. I think I dropped something. Ooh, look at me. So now I am going in around my eyes with the European Body Art Endura Red. And with the Endura line, this is an alcohol-based paint. Alcohol-based tend to last longer than water-based, and they're good for sweating and prosthetics. You can use a water base on prosthetics. It would still work. I just prefer to use alcohol base for everything. When I first started airbrushing, I did use water base. I didn't really know the difference until I got my first alcohol base, and I could not get it off my skin. I do want to do a removal video of how to remove a prosthetic one day, and how to get alcohol based paint off your skin. Maybe I'll be able to do that over the weekend. We are starting haunt season, but that might be a good thing to have because alcohol based airbrush paint is very hard to get off the skin. But with a prosthetic, you do ise special remover. I recommend either using the Telesis remover or the Ben Nye Bond Off. Ben Nye Bond Off is going to be more moisturizing for the skin, but it can cause bubbling on thinner prosthetics. And here, I'm just going into the little cracks that are on the prosthetic, making some texture with the red there. I'm just kind of going along the nose area because this is a zombie prosthetic where the nose kind of looks sunken in. Again, I'm so sorry about the camera angle. You will see what I did when I'm finished here. Trust me, I'm not teaching any special technique in airbrushing because, like I said, when I airbrush myself, there is no technique. It's basically let me get it on my face. I am sorry that this is a longer video. This is just the whole process of me putting a prosthetic on my face, putting the prosthetic on and painting it. You can do this in under a half hour. Some people, it can take longer. It really depends on how long you have. When I work at the haunt that I work at, we generally pre-paint the prosthetic, so we'll have the prosthetic painted, and then we will apply the prosthetic to the actor, and then paint around the edges as needed to blend the skin in. I think most haunts will do this. At the Body Art Effects haunt I did work at, there were times where we did have them pre-painted, and sometimes we just had to go on the fly and paint them then. Also, some people use a PAX paint. And what PAX paint is it is paint that is mixed with Prosade. So usually it's like a acrylic paint mixed with Prosade, and people will prep their prosthetics with this PAX paint. That just pretty much seals the prosthetic. I don't do that very often, but if it's something where I need to have a very opaque coloring on a prosthetic, I will do that. Or if there's any damages to the prosthetic, I will do that too, because that helps seal any cracks. I am so sorry that I changed the camera angle and you can see my messy bathroom. That is just all my personal makeup stuff. A little about me. When it's not haunt season, I am doing photo shoots. I wear wigs. I wear lots of different makeup. I say I'm the girl of many faces because I never look the same in any of my photo shoots. So you get to see the mess behind me. Also, my nickname at haunt is Haunt Mess instead of Hot Mess. I'm a Haunt Mess. So that's my little nickname. I have another nickname from when I was a scare actor, which is Blood, B-L-U-D, which is my name. But you can see the different angles there a little bit now. So right now I'm filling everything in with a dark purple color. I think it's called Bruised Purple. And with this Bruised Purple, it is by European Body Art, the Endura line. I did use 99% alcohol to thin this color. It is a very dark color. When I worked at a haunt where we just do airbrush paint makeup, um, we used, when we ran out of black, we used the bruise purple, and it still looked almost black. So this is a very dark color, but when you thin it down, you get this very bruisey purple color, even though it is called bruise purple. I do enjoy this color. And when you thin down paints like this, you can get a very translucent type coverage, and then you can go over it and get a thicker coverage. When doing zombie makeup, I like doing that because there's different types of bruising, there's different types of coloring where you go from dark to light in the same colors, if that makes sense. Like the same color aspect. So in bruising, you get your edges would be like a light purple, but in like the middle where you got hit or you got punched or whatever, it's a darker purple. So that's why I do like thinning down my products with 99% alcohol. Please do not use any other type of alcohol. This will cause the paint to separate, and it can also cause what we call rocks in your paint. So please, please, please always use 99% alcohol. Also, when cleaning out your airbrush, you're going to want to use 99% alcohol as well. If there's any type of airbrush, like any airbrush paint that is left over in the airbrush, and you use anything less than 99% alcohol, it can cause even worse clogging than you had before. And you can get like micro clogs within the where the point of the needle goes, and those are hard to detect. They're easy to clean out if you know what you're doing, but sometimes, as if you're a new airbrush artist, it's harder to find that clog and know how to clean it. Which I can do a video on that as well in the future. So you can see I've done some shadow work around, or some more contour work, not necessarily shadow, but contour work around the cheekbone areas, and I'm doing my neck right now. Always, when you are building a character, always remember where the costume or outfit the character is wearing is going to hit, because you don't want zombie looking skin and then you see the human skin when the costume moves a little bit. So I like to get really down there. The dress I ended up wearing wasn't that low, but I did want to make sure I had enough coverage. Add a little bit of texture. I'll just do little squirts of these colors that I have that are thinned down, so you get a little more shadowing in the paint and gives a little more texture to the look itself. started adding some yellow here, and I ended up making the yellow too dark. But that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you can add darker colors and then put your lighter base over top to kind of blend them out and give even more texture to the look, give more definition to the look. I just wasn't really that happy with this yellow. Again, it's yellow by Endura. It's a good color. It just wasn't working for what I was going for. It was giving it more of a theatrical look where I wanted a more Walking Dead zombie look. If I was doing this look for a haunt, this would have been perfect because haunts, you're going to want to add thicker lines, harsher colors, just more things that are going to pop. But since I was going for more of a video, a look for a video, I wanted it to be not as poppy, if that makes sense. I didn't want it to stand out as much. But it was a good highlight color. But as you see here, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, nope. So here I am adding that, I think it's called Corpse, adding that original base color to blend that in. And again, it does do a cool effect. It does still give a little undertone to it. Kind of like, again, if you have bruising, you have your dark purple in the middle, you have your light purple on the outsides, and then you have little bits of yellow, and that's more of what I was going for. And here I am just contemplating, am I done? Because sometimes you never know if you're done. Sometimes you're like, oh, do I need more? Do I need less? Did I do too much? And here I am adding little sprinkles of blood. The paintbrush method. And yes, that's the paintbrush I use for Haunt. I cleaned it for my kit this year. I mean, I always keep everything clean. I am like, I might be called the Haunt mess, but everything I use is always covered in 99% alcohol. When I work a haunt, all my brushes are dipped in 99% alcohol when I'm finished using them. And now I really think I'm done. Me being weird. And the final look. And me in my car.